Hey everyone, thanks for watching the CB vlog here on the Commander's Brew YouTube channel. Thanks for watching, and if you want to help out, we're inching closer and closer to that 10,000 subscribers. We're really kind of make a focused goal of it right now. So if you can hit subscribe if you haven't already, or even share the show, let some of your Commander playing friends know about us, that'd be great. Big help. Also, just leaving a comment or checking out our Patreon, patreon.com/commandersbrew, where you can actually help make the show with your donations, get in on our Discord, make the decks as well. You can be a part of that. And other perks as well. So check us out, patreon.com/commandersbrew. But without further ado, we're going to start talking about our main topic for this week's show. And it is mutate. Mutate commanders specifically is what we're talking about here. I wanted to sort of bring this up as a sort of separate topic, not one where we're brewing with it, because this week when I went to put a deck together, I thought about the sort of myriad of amazing options we have when it comes to mutate commanders. Like Ikoria has given us, one of each wedge of these mutate commanders that are all wildly different and pretty powerful. And then we also have the additional one that comes with the mutate commander deck. But what I wanted to do, though, is I wanted to talk about like how, kind of like we did with the companions a couple episodes ago, how viable are these legendary creatures as commanders for kind of versatile commander decks, right? Like obviously in a mutate specific deck, these guys are going to work, no problem. But what I want to talk about is like, are they viable for other types of decks, and how parasitic are we talking when we're talking about the mutate mechanic? So starting off, I just want to read all of the mutate commanders. There's only 6 of them, and 7 if you want to get fancy. So let's just start reading them right now. So the first one is from the Commander 20 Commander 2020 deck. It's the face of the deck. It's Otrimi, the Ever Playful. It's a 3 and Sultai mana, so black, green, blue. Legendary Nightmare Beast. It mutates for 1 and Sultai mana, so 4 total. 1 black, green, and blue. It's a 6/6 with trample, and it says whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, return target creature card with mutate from your graveyard to your hand. I think it's pretty safe to say that if you're building the mutate commander deck, Otrimi is probably the best option, just because it affects all the other mutate cards in your deck in a very positive way. So Otrimi, very powerful. No wonder it's the face of that commander deck specifically. Sean, why don't you read our next one here?
Brocco's Apex of Forever, another Sultai one. This time you get a 6/6 with trample. You may cast Brocco's from your graveyard using its mutated ability, and Brocco's costs 2 black, green, blue up front, so 5, and also mutates for 5, 2 green, green, and then either black or blue. So the mutate, you can kind of just have a splash as blue or black, but you got to be Sultai to run it. This one is like, it doesn't care about other mutates, but it is mutatable from the graveyard forever.
Yeah, it's interesting how Brocco's ends up being really good just because of that castability, and therefore triggering a bunch of different mutate things. If you've got a creature that has a couple of different mutations already, then Brocco's is so easily castable because it's going to be probably in your graveyard or something like that. So very interesting. And these are all powerful cards. Like, these are all good cards if we're talking about multiple mutates, but we're going to get to like the nitty gritty of the decks in a second. Next we have Illuna, Apex of Wishes. This is the Teamer one, 2 green, blue, red, and it mutates for 6. It's 3, and then a hybrid Gruul, and then blue, blue. It's 6/6 flying trample. Whenever this creature mutates, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land permanent card. Put that card onto the battlefield or into your hand. Interesting effect that Illuna has is like probably a lot of the time in a dedicated mutate deck, it's probably going to just put your mutate cards right onto the battlefield, which is kind of what you don't want. Interesting.
Then you
right?
choose to put it in your hand.
I guess you could choose to put it in your hand. Yeah, that's true. But really, I mean, you want to put things on the battlefield. So, Anyways, what's the next one?
Snapdax, Apex of the Hunt. Snap Daddy. That's the Mardu one. 1 red, white, black. So 4 up front for a 3/5 with double strike. You can mutate it for a total of 5 in a mix of that mana. Whenever this creature, it's a 3/5, and whenever this creature mutates, it deals 4 damage to target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls, and you gain 4 life. So it's a 3/5 double striker, deals some damage, doesn't really have any mutate synergies outside of that.
Yeah, and this is interesting. Like, it has that kind of Broncos thing where the 4 damage is okay. In Commander, that's kind of like whatever. You're not taking down anything major with that, but you can take down some powerful stuff still. But the double strike, when you get like a big creature, this thing, the bigger this guy gets, like that double strike is going to be that's going to be a real thing. Vadrock is the next one. It's the Jeskai one, and it's just Jeskai mana, blue, red, white. Mutates for 4, 1 hybrid Azorius and 2 red. 3/3 flying first strike. Whenever this creature mutates, you may cast target non-creature card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard without paying its mana cost. So in obviously dedicated mutate deck, these cards are all good. We're starting to talk about whether or not, and like this one to me strikes me as like I don't see myself running this in one of those types of decks. But let's keep going here.
And then we have Nethroi, Apex of Death. This is the Abzan one. 2 white, black, green. So 5 up front for a 5/5 Death Touch lifelink. And whenever this creature mutates, return any number of target creature cards with total power 10 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. And the mutate is pretty high on this one. 7 total in a mix of the 4 in a mix of the Abzan there.
Yeah, very powerful. And finally, not an actual mutate commander, but one that cares about it. Surgeon, not general, commander. It's a silver bordered card. It's from, I don't know, what's this set called again?
Unsanctioned.
Unsanctioned. 3 to green. It's a legendary wombat, bat, chameleon. This one actually, like I don't run any silver border commanders, but I actually would think about making this one just because I think it would be really fun. And like not broken in any way, really, just kind of fun. Anyways, it says whenever you augment, enchant, or mutate a creature you control, draw a card. And it taps to add any of the Wooburg, any color, basically. It taps to add any color. Just a bit of fun there. This is a fun commander for your mutate decks, but obviously not a mutate itself. So let's talk about these guys. So what do you think, Sean, is the best mutate, a commander that has the mutate ability for a non-mutate deck? What do you think? Like, if we're not building around mutate, what do you think is the most viable commander of all of these guys?
If we're not building around mutate, my money's on Nethroi, Apex of Death.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the same. I think the same thing.
Because Abzan is so good at filling the graveyard, and you get power 10 or less from the graveyard to the battlefield. Commander is full of hugely costed, tiny creatures because the ability is massive on it. So if we focus on those, it's like 7 mana 1/1s that have huge effects. It's like, great, I can get 30 or 40 mana worth of creatures out on this thing. And all the effects. I mean, that takes a lot of work, but like, and it mutates onto anything. Like, these colors generate non-human tokens left, right, and center. We've got mutate targets galore.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think Nethroi has the biggest effect, but also has the most mana cost for its mutate, right? Like, you're spending 7. Like, that's a big ask. And especially if you're not running anything else that has mutate or not that much. Like, you may well run 1 or 2 other mutate cards, but to be able to then just cast this as your commander for 5 mana, it doesn't have the same effect at all, right? Like, you need to be able to mutate this thing.
You do.
So it's a tall ask to spend 7 mana to do such a thing. But I agree with you. I think it's the most viable and because it has the biggest effect. The next one I think is probably something like, maybe it's Iluna rather. We said, like getting a free permanent can be pretty nice, especially if you're building around such an ability. But the thing that I ran into when I was thinking about brewing with Iluna, so Nethroi, I was like, ooh, 7 mana, that's a lot. Iluna, I was like, well, I mean, this is Temur here. Like, this is, we can kind of do this for easier, kind of better ways. Like even the old dragon there, the Teamer dragon is like he can do that. You pay 3 when you hit or something, and you get to flip cards. Anyways, that's not even the best version of things that does that in Teamer, but like even it is kind of better than a Luna. Again, if we don't have, if we're not really building around mutate, you'd want to be like bouncing this. This is the one thing I like about a Luna is that like blue and maybe bouncing a Luna and the creature it's mutated on, and then being able to like do that a few times. Only problem is that you don't get those multiple mutate triggers, which is really what you want with these decks, right?
I'm feeling with a Luna, I'm feeling like if you got green, so if we restrict all of our ramp to instant and sorcery based ramp, we get out of artifacts, we get out of elves, then we can probably engineer it so we're only going to hit very nice things. Our blue can all be like counter spells, bounces. The red can be more removal stuff like making tokens to mutate onto. We can probably put together a deck where the only permanents are like 6 CMC and up.
Interesting. Yeah. How do you like Brokos in a kind of a non-mutate deck, just as a kind of this value thing that comes out of the graveyard once in a while and makes whatever small thing into a 6/6 trample? Is that good enough for 6 mana?
I don't know. When Brokos was spoiled, everyone like took to the streets and were like, what like cheap creatures can we mutate onto to just make 6/6s that attack quite easily?
Yeah.
And it was like, there's lots of like, when this creature deals damage, the player discards that much cards, or you draw that many cards. But ultimately, if your plan is to, like, as soon as you're online with Brokos, your opponents are going to be like, what are you at? You're at 5? Okay, so Brokos comes on next turn, so everyone hold a removal spell so that they can't... Because the way you kill a mutate is you cast it, and then you kill the thing it's mutating onto, so now it just exists without mutate.
Yeah.
And you got a vanilla 6/6 trample that, granted, I mean, if they don't want it to go back to your command zone, they have to not block it and not kill it or chump it, like sort of chump it. So I mean, that's not bad either. I don't know. I'm just. It seems boring.
Yeah, I like that angle of let's make Brokos mutate into something where it really matters. Where like it really matters when we hit or how big the creature is, that sort of thing. That kind of interests me more so than some of the other ones. I think obviously Otrimi needs to be in a mutate deck, so I don't even think there's really much to talk about there. And the other one, right? The other one would be Vadrock and Snapdeck. So looking at Vadrock, when we were reading them, the thing that struck me is that like, this ability is pretty okay, like to cast something for 3 or less. Like I like that ability, but unless we're getting it multiple times, like how good is this? Like, are we going to be doing the same thing where we're looking to bounce it and then mutate it? We're paying 4 mana for a 3-mana thing in our graveyard. That's not terrible. Like that's okay. Essentially giving something a kind of flashback that we can still keep reusing it. Like I like that.
This deck to me. I can't, like, my favorite mutate card, I don't remember what it's called off the top of my head. It's the one that's It hybrid, and when it mutates, you return an instant or sorcery from your graveyard to your hand.
Yeah, Illuna or something? No, not Illuna.
I wanted to say Lurus, but that's not the one.
Lore something? It's like
Lore Seeker?
Lord Drake? Lord Dracos?
Lord Dracus.
Lord Dracus, I was right. Oh my god. I really thought I was just making things up there. Yeah, that one's good, yeah.
So I think like it's just going to be like a nice Jeskai deck with lots of 3 or less mana draw spells, bounce spells, good instants and sorceries, and you're just going to always have this engine where you're like casting Vadrock for value, Lord Dracus is part of the equation, you're getting a lot of spells back, you're drawing tons of cards. I think Vadrock is a nice little bit of grease for the engine, whatever that engine is.
I think Vadrock is the type of card where I look at it and I go, I don't think that's that good, unless you're making an all mutate deck. And then I start to brew it, and I'm like, actually, this is way more fun than I thought.
I think that is probably what you'll find.
Right? Like, you're going to include some mutate cards in all of these. Like, let's say, like, we're not building around mutate necessarily, but you're going to include a couple of the mutate cards that came out that are going to work with this guy. Like the one that draws you a card, the heron or whatever it is. You're going to grab the one, the porcupine thing or whatever, maybe even is going to be good enough. I don't know. But
you're probably going to run that sea dash or octopus.
And this is the thing. So now we're talking about, like, this is the other side of it. And sort of before we go really deep on this, I wanted to talk about Snapdax, which, we already kind of did. I think, like, the bigger the better with Snapdax. Throwing damage around is going to be nice. And you're just basically trying to get this guy through. It's just a matter of how many times can you do it, same as everything else. But with all of these decks, like, it is parasitic. And the more parasitic you go, I feel like the less kind of fun you get to have deck building, right? Like, it's like, well, I have to include all these mutates. Like, I want to get away from that personally. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I took a quick browse at all the Jeskai mutate cards, and in a commander environment, I don't like many of them because they just cost a lot.
Yeah.
Like I like Lordrakis because it just costs 2 to mutate. So I'm like, that's fine.
Yeah.
But like that Porcupine costs 3, and I'm not getting a lot for that 3.
No.
Like maybe the shark that bounces something, maybe that's worth it. I just don't think like if this deck asks me to get Parasitic, I don't want to.
Exactly. That's the thing. I'm sure it's probably better in others. Like we said, like Otrimi is entirely parasitic, whereas like Nethroi doesn't necessarily have to be, because you're kind of happy just to get one big trigger out of that. And again, if you can somehow bounce it or whatever, then you're kind of okay with it. Whereas some of these other ones, kind of like Vadrak here, like you want to be able to do this multiple times and have the multiple mutate effects happen. So
truly,
it's interesting to see which ones gain the most from having those effects happen. And yeah, I think there are decks here. I think Brokos is very interesting to me. I think Nethroi is pretty, kind of obvious a little bit. Like, we're just building some pretty cool graveyard stuff. But then there's some of these other ones that are a little more puzzle-like. Your Vadrak, a bit more of a puzzle to build that one. Even a Luna, same kind of thing. Is a Luna
like a puzzle?
And I do too. So, whereas at first I kind of wanted to write a lot of these creatures off as being, because the mutate is so parasitic, that I wanted to kind of write these off. And certainly I think, there are ones that are better than others. But I think in general, I think there's a little more room here to brew than I gave it credit for at first. Like, during our set review, I may have been, I didn't buy. This is the first time I was basically seeing the card. So, it's
right.
Kind of amending it now. And I think I'm gonna try to do something with these guys where it's not totally around mutate.
Okay. Yeah, I think I might be up for trying a little mutate deck. Yeah. Taking one of these on as my next brew.
All right. Well, let's try it out then.
Okay.
All right. Well, I'd love to hear what everyone is thinking about these cards as well, right? Whether it be if you're watching on YouTube, in the comments below, or if you're listening, hit us up on Twitter at Commanders Brew, and just let us know is there a deck there? Is there something else that maybe a lot of people aren't seeing that you thought of? I'd love to hear your thoughts on these mutate commanders where we're not building around mutate, really. Interesting stuff. Okay, well, thanks for watching. This week we'll be back next week with another show, another interview or vlog or whatever it is. Check back next week. See you then.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. If you love what we're doing, consider supporting the show by going to patreon.com/commandersbrew.
And if you want to get any of the cards from our deck list, go to our TCGplayer affiliate link below.
That helps us out too, and for a free way to help us out, consider sharing the show with some friends. Like and subscribe, add a comment or two.
See you later.
Bye.